Mike and Brandy just finished the workout. We're going to head back to the studio where they're going to give you tips for pacing and strategy. Then we'll watch the demo, and then we'll circle back with how they think they did.
That's right, Mike. What say you, Chili Willy? It's gonna be a spicy one!
All right, so we think after watching the elites that they're probably going to be a little bit faster than the demos. So in the demo, they had a really long transition between the rower and the deadlift. We think for elite males, they're probably going to be just over 11 rounds, and for elite females, probably around 10 and a half.
Just real quick. All right, and for the rest of the world, those that are trying to get into the top 25%, as of right now, we think males will be around 6.5 rounds. That will be about 3 minutes per round if you're pacing this out. For females, it'll be around 6 rounds, which is about 3 minutes and 15 seconds per round, so get after it.
Remember, with all of that data, we are making these predictions after seeing the workouts just with the elites and with 2 people on site. So as we get more information, we will keep you up to date. And then go right into the row.
What about that row pace?
Speaking of rowing, get into the rower quickly out of transitions, and as a target, hold your 5K pace.
And for those athletes that are in our programs, we've already sent out a row pacing chart for all of you, so check your inbox.
I don't think I'm next. He is.
All right, so in the deadlift here, for I think people that are in the top 25%, you have an opportunity that you can break the deadlift. It's not going to have to be unbroken if you're looking to be somewhere between that 5% to 25% cut line. For anybody that's trying to be in the top 5%, you're probably going to have to go unbroken on the deadlift here, and there is no other option.
Everyone knows this is a 20-minute workout, and for those that have been in the sport a long time, you got to pace this, so that includes the double unders. You do not have to do these unbroken to have a good score, especially for those that are trying to make it in the top 25%. We recommend from the beginning, round 1, that you're breaking your double unders 1 or 2 sets, but keep in mind, you break, take the deep breath, and then get back on it so you stay on a solid pace throughout.
All right, little update here. We're on week 2 of not having any bathrooms, so just for context, keep in mind that our guys out there doing the workout might be a little backed up. Back to you.
And now for the 3 most famous words in CrossFit.
Mia!
Mia!
I think she went home.
Yeah, I think so too.
No, she's my ride.
Oh my God. Let's see it.
Will they hear this music at all? All right, screw me then.
Boom! And we're on. There we go. I hope he keeps that on there, Max.
All right, so they started out here. I was standing right behind Brandy, so I could see her pace. She said her 5K row pace was 2:05, and she was basically right on it to start. She did immediately pull it to like a 1:57. So just be mindful of the fact that you're going to probably be overamped up and calm
Just
yourself
settle.
down. It's a 20-minute workout.
Do you know what Mike's pace was? Because Brandon and I were standing on this side of him, so we couldn't see.
I walked over a couple times, so when I walked over, I can tell you what pace he was at. I couldn't see it from here, but he said that he held around a 1:55 the whole time.
Yeah.
So for him, that's much slower than his 5K pace. That's much closer to his 30-minute row time trial pace.
He talks about this before, and I think this is really good for any athlete going into a workout. When you're doing your warm-up, you kind of reassess your plan based on how you feel, and he said that he felt like 150 or 149 was a little too aggressive, and that was going to slow him down. So he just made a change in his warm-up to go at 155, and that worked out really well, especially when it's rowing for meters. There's not a ton of separation in a workout like this.
Yeah, we actually talked about that in the strategy document that we sent out to all of our athletes. If you're a less enduring athlete, and Mike is, a self-admitted less enduring athlete, you would want to choose a rowing pace that's a little bit slower than your 5K versus someone who, is more of an endurance athlete.
As we're watching this, now this is probably feedback only for people that are trying to get a world-class top elite score. You can probably tighten this setup a little bit with a diagonal bar and the double under rope right behind it. For this level, I feel like the transition was just more comfortable for Mike to do there, but you could potentially lose like a quarter of a second per transition.
Yeah,
it might matter.
Here's the great thing about having no floor setup this year is that you can kind of change the setup based on your skill level. So for someone that needs deliberate transitions, maybe you push your barbell a little bit farther away and then you space out your double under your jump rope, double under rope. Whatever you do to spin it. So that the rule would be you get off the row, you walk to your bar, but then as soon as you're at your bar, that's when you start, and the same thing to your rope.
Both of their strategies were basically the same. Around 5K pace for Brandy, Mike's was a little slower than his 5K pace, break the deadlifts into 2 sets, and break the jump rope into 2 sets.
Yeah. I absolutely love the strategy of breaking those, especially for someone that knows that they're not as enduring. Now, they're going to be high-level athletes, and if you're listening to this, you want to set the world record or you're trying to get over 10 rounds, you're going to have to be really aggressive on your transitions and probably keep those unbroken. But for most of us that are just focused on getting in the top 25%, having a breaking strategy makes sense.
I think there's going to be a break point around probably 2% or so of people that just maintain the entire workout unbroken.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that we could count 20 people right off the top of our head that can do this workout unbroken all the way across. And if we know that many, there's going to be way more than that across the world. So I do think that, Brandon, to your point, that if you're, just trying to make it into that top 25%, then yeah, you're going to need to have a plan to break each of the elements except for the row. But if you are, someone who considers the open part of your playground, or, you're competitive in the open, then you may need to actually push these things for unbroken.
Yeah.
Just because you can do them unbroken, though, in the beginning, it doesn't mean you have to. Like Mike was talking about his double unders and said that he could have done them unbroken, and he actually tried in the second round and did it, but his heart rate got so much more elevated as a result of doing that his row pace ended up being slower. So it really doesn't make sense to do that.
Watching Mike cycle the barbell, again, he's someone who's pretty good at cycling deadlift, and I think they look relatively easy here, but you can see as the workout goes on that there's definitely some hamstring fatigue that accumulates. And keep in mind, he's really good at cycling. And Brandy, hers look really easy at this point.
They look good all the way through.
Yeah.
One thing to consider, too, with both of them is that they're actually probably a good representation of where the split in the leaderboard between men and women is going to be. Like, it's just going to be a little bit slower every single round on the rower, and then that just catches up over the course of 20 minutes.
So one of the things we've talked about a lot are transitions into and out of the rower. And I think that looking at Mike, his transition in, notice that he didn't tighten the foot straps. So if you're watching this and you're someone who always tightens the foot straps when you get into the rower, I would start practicing now, maybe even use it in this workout, depending on, if you can figure out in your warm-up how to get your feet into the rower, because that really can save you potentially 3 seconds per transition. And if you're looking at 9 rounds, that ends up being a lot of time added to your workout.
Are they finished? They're finished with 2 full rounds. Brandy just finished with 2 full rounds. And Mike
in the
row of round 3. I'm going to keep track.
Cool.
Chris didn't put the little round counter because we did this too quick.
I wanted to go back to the row for a couple other things.
I'm still not going to put the round. Trying to get this video uploaded.
That's okay. Get it uploaded. A couple more things, a few tips about the row. You talked about keeping it loose and getting in, but also still get to your working pace right away. Even though it's not for cows, it's 4 meters, it's still important to get to your working pace and then settle in there. The other thing, it is not a big separator in the workout. I know we already reiterated that in the front end of this, but the difference in a 140 per 500 pace and a 150 per 500 pace is only 6.5 seconds on 300 meters. So you're not gaining a ton of time by sprinting at 140 versus 150. So settle into that and then be more aggressive on your transitions.
And to your point, holding 140 for 20 minutes on the rower for pretty much any CrossFitter is probably near impossible, but 150 is doable by the majority of male, top 25% CrossFitters for 20 minutes or a 5K.
What would be the female equivalent?
Probably 205 to 210
Yeah,
range.
we think it's probably like -5. It very much depends on the size profile of the athlete, but somewhere between 5 and 15 seconds slower over a 5K per 500 meters.
But so like for a female, if they said, I want to do 2 minutes per 500, that's a 112 total time in 300 meters. But if they back that off to, let's just say it was like 210, then it's a 118 total time. So you're not losing as much time as you think by slowing yourself down.
Yeah, the only time.
Go ahead, man.
I was going to say the only time it's really going to be a major separator is if you are going after those elite scores, because then they're unbroken on both movements, and that actually does become the separator. But for almost everybody that's watching this, it's really going to be about pacing that so you can manage the transitions and the rest of the things well and not be tripping on double unders.
Well, to that point, Max, Mike here is over 9 rounds. I don't remember exactly how far into it he got, but he was over 9 rounds, and the guys on the demo were in the 10 rounds, right?
They were done 10 plus.
They were rowing 10 seconds per 500 meter faster than Mike was. He was rowing 155. They were rowing like 145, 146. And so, I mean, that shows you, like, they netted only 1 round rowing 10 seconds faster. And anybody who can row 145 pace for a 5K knows that the effort to go from 155 to 145 is just
gigantic.
It's a huge difference in effort.
Yeah. Something to note about that demo is, I don't know if I already said this, but their setup was very far apart.
Yeah.
From the rower to the deadlift looked like a pretty long walk, and they lost a lot of time, and I think their scores will get chewed up as a result of that.
Well, yeah, they're going to be 3 transitions every single round. So if you're getting, 8 rounds, you're talking about 24 transitions, and if you're taking 5 or 6 seconds per transition, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
We actually went out and I filmed one of our athletes on site and did a breakdown, and the transitions were, they look like they're going to be about 6 seconds from the rower to the deadlift bar, about 5 seconds into the first double under, assuming you can do a double under for your first rep, and then about 9 seconds to the point that you do your first pull onto the rower. You can probably speed that up, but he was trying to do transitions that would be realistic in the middle of a workout.
Mike was doing a really good job, and Brandy too, of finishing the row and getting right to the deadlift bar and going. If you row faster and then you have to take even just a little bit longer of a transition before your first rep, it's literally just wasted energy. So your pace in your rower can almost be moderated as you go through the workout by can I get off of this rower once I cross 300 and go over and at least start my first deadlift right away.
Watching Brandy, I'm going to try and keep track of what her transition is to her first double under. So she's finishing the deadlift at 25 seconds. And her first, I can't tell if she starts with a dub. No. Nope. So her first one is at 29. So 4-second transition right there.
I really like the step back too. I think the way that she set up her barbell and the rope was right behind where she just took like 2 quick steps back, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of like a little diagonal setup. The rower is set here. The barbell is kind of like at 45 degrees, and then the rope is in the little nook between those two things. I think that's probably going to be the fastest setup you could get transition-wise. She might be able to get the front of this barbell closer to the rower and shorten it a tiny bit.
That'll also give her more space for double unders to bring it in just a little bit closer. But you got to be careful, because if you start clipping on the double unders, you hit the bottom of the T on the rower, or you clip your barbell, that's an automatic 5 seconds added to your workout every time you have to reset after a double under.
Yeah, and only really worth it if your transitions are going to be fast, because you're doing the whole workout unbroken and trying to put up a world-class time. So I think for most people, a setup that's less risky like this just makes sense.
They're halfway in, and both of them actually look like they're under control, and I think that's really how you should look in a workout that's this long. I think the best strategy for most people in this workout is going to be to try and win the war of attrition, not go out too hot, and make sure that you are almost not building and negative splitting, but just maintaining pace as you go across the workout.
Yeah, the demo elite guys finished 2 rounds at a pace that indicated that they would be just over 11. So there was a little bit of a fall off as they went through. I think your goal is to try to condense that so they're as close as you possibly can to flat performance all the way across, or maybe even have your last round be a little bit faster, because like as Brandy's going and you watch her finish and kick, she ends up doing her last set of double unders unbroken and then sprinting on the rower to get into the next round. So her last actual completed round might be faster than what she did in the first round.
Wish we'd done that breakdown so we could have actually seen it.
We didn't have time. We could do it afterwards in the comments.
Again, transitions were so fast. I'm going to pay attention to Brandy's next transition, rower to deadlift, so we can get a time on that as well.
Yeah, they're both doing a great job, and Mike's still doing a really good job on his double unders. He's breaking them every single round, and it's like 2 to 3 seconds, a deep breath, and then right back into it. It's really good to practice that in your warm-ups too. Like do a set of 20, take a deep breath, do another set of 20, just get a feel for it.
I will say, Brandy, you said she looked calm. Somewhere around this is like 11 minutes, and I could tell like her facial expression changed a little bit, and her row pace dropped by like 3 or 4 seconds per 500. And she said after the workout that she was really actively trying to stay composed, but it hurt a lot. And then she also had to mix grip her row for a second too. So this combo might get kind of grippy from holding onto the bar, doing a lot of this with your hands, and then holding onto the rower as well.
It's another good reason to potentially break the deadlift. Just if you're someone whose grip tends to blow up, that, breaking the deadlift into 2 sets or even potentially 3 sets might be appropriate. If you think about it, dropping the deadlift only takes, drop, shake out, reset. You can get that down to maybe 2 to 3 seconds, which is a very quick break.
Yeah.
Both of those movements, the deadlift and the double under, are really easy movements to break. It's not like doing a hang squat clean where every time you break, then you got to pick it back up, then you got to hang it, then you're squatting.
Yeah.
These are like ones that take advantage of having the simple movements. You can drop the barbell from the top and then ride it back down.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good thing to do in a workout like this.
There's the mixed grip that you were saying.
Oh yeah,
Brandy was
yeah.
just
She switched. She did it and then switched back into her normal grip. But I didn't ask her about that afterwards. I'm guessing it's because her grip blew up.
I mean, this is very grippy,
Yeah.
especially for those that maybe aren't as good at the double unders and they're kind of tense as they go through it.
You know, we retested 15.1 fairly recently in one of the group on-site workouts, and it's got a bunch of deadlift at 115. One of the things I did is I would do 5 in a mixed grip and then 5 double overhand, and just doing that definitely preserved my grip throughout the workout. So if you're going to break the deadlift, maybe consider doing 5 with a mixed and 5 with a double overhand or something along those lines to preserve your grip.
When we gave targets earlier in the workout or in the video, we said 6.5 to 6 could be a good target for the top 25%. If you're doing that, your rounds are over 3 minutes, but it's still a reasonable amount of time on the rower is going to be like a minute 10 to a minute 20 or 30. 10 deadlifts is like a second and a half per rep, and 50 double unders if you're moving pretty slowly and you do it unbroken is 30 seconds. So there's a lot of available rest time in there to take breaks. So if you're a top 25% athlete doing 4-4-2 or 4-3-3 and then doing even 30-15-15, like they did 2 breaks on the double
That'd
unders.
be 60.
Oh yeah, sorry.
30-20?
30-10-10 or something like that. But that could give you an opportunity to rest within the sets and not have, like, their transitions between were pretty quick. Like, this is one of her slower breaks in her double unders, and it's still only going to be 5 or so seconds. But if you're in that top 25%, you can break the workout up pretty substantially and keep yourself from redlining and getting to those 30-second long breaks at the end of the workout.
Do you think that now watching them, Brandy's starting to lose her composure? That was a much longer.
You can see the posture
break,
too.
and you can see the posture going into the rower. Do you think that's a factor where Brandy's rowing like right on her 5K pace from the start, and Mike was rowing potentially like 6 or 7 seconds slower than his, PR 5K row pace from the start? So he's a much more conservative row pace. Do you think that's the factor that's kind of leading them here?
I don't want to pick on Brandy because I feel like she's awesome, but I think you saw a little bit of like almost mental breaking that she ends up snapping back out of because the last 5 minutes of the workout she crushes and her body language improves. I think they're both hurting. I think this workout, even based on Mike's initial, I think this workout is just going to be, at this point in it, it's going to be nasty. And when you're watching other people do it, you just can't really tell how gross it might feel.
Yeah. Mike's not usually one to keep his composure well when he's suffering in a workout, but he's actually doing a pretty awesome job of it.
Yeah, I think he paced really well. He's been doing more endurance work. I think it was just a really well executed workout for him. But I do think it's hurting because he said he couldn't do the 50 double unders unbroken, and he's very good at double unders. So I'm assuming his heart rate was riding that threshold the entire time, and he just paced it pretty well.
Yeah, he talked to me after the workout. In round 2, he actually did do the double unders unbroken because he said he wanted to see what it felt like going back to the row erg. And he said when he got back to the rower, he could not hold the same pace. So that's when he's like, the rest of the rounds, I'm going to break these because he dropped off 3 or 4 seconds on the row.
This man said go back to the row.
Yeah, I
It
saw
is-
that. Yeah.
it is a row erg.
I know, but it wasn't very official.
The row erg.
Transition slowing down a little bit for Brandy. We're at 15 minutes in, so this is right around where you said she kind of like flipped the switch back on.
Yeah, I think it's actually, there was one round, I think it's the next round where I told her, like, okay, now's the time to go unbroken double unders. I think it is actually the next round. And she picked up her pace on the rower because she knew that she really wasn't going to be able to have a lot of time to finish the workout.
If you're at a similar pace to Mike and Brandy, you know that your rounds are going to take about 2.5 minutes. So really, you're looking at right now is about the point that you have 2 rounds left.
Yeah, when you're in this like 16 to 17 and a half minute range, this is really where the kick of the workout starts. If you've redlined, you can't kick and you're just hanging on for dear life. But if you've paced it right, this would be the time to start picking up your pace. Or if you were breaking double unders and doing 10-second breaks, maybe trying to make them 5 or something like that, this would be the time in the workout where you can start to get separation relative to the field.
Would you say
pace
there's a
it right.
point that you should go unbroken on the movements? Like, should Mike go unbroken on this set of deadlifts?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a decision you have to make based on how messed up you are, but I do think it is worth it. If you're in this realm of like after 15 minutes and you can, it might make sense to push them, so long as it's not going to be like hey, he does 10 unbroken, 50 unbroken, gets on the rower, and now he's rowing at 230 because he's so messed up.
Well, I think more concerning than seeing your row pace deteriorate that much, because like we talked about, the row pace, even if you're 5 seconds slower per 500 meters, it's really not that big of a deal. But if going unbroken on the deadlift at this point in the workout affects your double unders to the point that you're tripping every 7 or 10, then that would not be worth it. So if you're someone who tends to struggle with double unders under fatigue, I would definitely avoid ever just switching to an unbroken strategy.
Yeah, and as we're at this point, I know for myself, my coordination, if I'm this red line, my double unders, I couldn't plan my breaks because I'd probably be missing from coordination.
Yep.
If you are in that state and you say, okay, I want to do 3 sets every time with double unders, and you start missing, you can't be thinking of those as breaks anymore. You just miss, and right away you go back into it and get through it as quick as you can.
I wasn't paying that close of attention throughout this to their double unders, but did they ever trip, or were these all planned breaks?
Brandy didn't have any trips, I don't think.
It's all planned breaks.
I think they were all planned. I didn't know about Mike.
I'm not sure about Mike.
Yeah, so this is the round where I told Brandy, I said something to her right there, and I said, if you can, go unbroken in this round, because I just knew the timing-wise. So I think she does this round unbroken, and then, or maybe it was next round. No, I think this would
it's
be
this
right.
one.
It would
It's
be
this
this
round.
one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and then I'll give her about
Yeah.
90 seconds on the row.
Yeah, and then she rows and gets off and gets a couple deads.
The
Spoiler
rower.
alert. Yeah, the rower. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Man, if,
All right,
if
so-
you finish the workout on the row, that's where it's going to hurt the most. That
For
would
sure.
be the worst movement to finish the
Well,
workout on.
also something to note about the standards. If you are finishing on the rower in the last round, they're counting rollover, and every 10 meters is 1 rep. So just be mindful as you're getting close to the end, like right at the 20-minute mark. If you're on it,
Sell out.
try to get to the next threshold and sell out and pull as hard as you can
Yeah,
for
don't
the last
short
one.
Do you
stroke
want the
that
good
last
news or
one.
the bad news?
What's the
Also to note about the standards, you just walked over to Habdo and asked if you could move the rope. He said, I didn't see anything. Well, there is something. You can't touch the rope. So you just got your athlete a penalty.
Shut up.
We're making the hard mistakes here live for you guys.
Damn.
So you don't have to.
I did. I went over to Habdo and I said, damn it, I didn't read the standards.
Pass the buck off to Habdo.
Sorry, Brandy.
Hey, but
Well,
we're doing.
oh, no, it doesn't matter. She never gets back to it.
Well, hey,
Yeah, I was just cleaning up for her.
Yeah, yeah, picking
Preemptively
up.
cleaning
I
up.
get it. I get it.
Invalid workout.
I'll never disrespect you again.
That's it. Watch your tone here.
So, Kyle,
What's the
wow, you just go ahead, Chris. Do your
what
thing.
did Mayhem title their episode?
I'll change your tone or something like that.
You need to change your tone.
I'll
Chris.
change my tone.
All right, so
Kyle
Mike,
talked about this finishing on the row. And
Mike is fully selling out. Brandy is too, but she's close enough that she had time to finish and he didn't. So she's getting off, and I was like, all right, get as many as you can. These end reps probably will be a lot of places on open leaderboard.
Yes.
So just remember, if you're at the end, sprint finish and get every rep you can.
All right, let's go see what they had to say.
Hey,
Tell us about it.
it was 20 minutes long. That's all I remember. I think transitions will eat you up. So be okay with breaking things and just staying moving the whole time. Don't get sucked into doing big sets because you feel like you need to go unbroken, because it'll make your transitions slow. And 3 transitions every round adds up.
Would you suggest transition or breaking from the beginning?
Yeah, that's what I did. It felt good. I tried a couple of rounds unbroken, but breaking helped me keep my row faster.
Good job. All right, let's go talk to Brandy. Brandy, what are your initial thoughts?
It's hot in Georgia today, but it was a good workout. 20 minutes is more up my alley versus 8 minutes, so I just tried to stay smooth and broken the whole time.
Did you go into it with a plan of how you were going to break things up?
Yeah, I was gonna plan on rowing at my 5K pace and then breaking deads 6-4 and double unders 30-20.
Is that how you did it pretty much the whole time?
Yeah, I just tripped at 25 on one set of double unders, but then did 25 to finish. And the last set unbroken.
Any suggestions for the people at home?
Don't go out hot. You'll regret it 3 rounds in.
You heard it here, don't go out hot. If you want to follow the TTT community, make sure you put #swarm in your account on your competition dashboard. I'm Jackie, and from all of us at TTT, effort is a choice.